All right, welcome into the Blueprint. It is Wednesday, January 21st, which means the college football season, it's behind us. Indiana beat Miami. Yeah.
But we're still here.
Give some thoughts and prayers, some hugs to Devin, to all of us, really, because it's sad.
So sad.
It's sad. We got some NFL playoff football, but, college, that's what we're here for. It's why we call it the Blueprint. It delivered, though, Dev. What a finale, man. Indiana, Miami, down in Miami. Indiana, 16-0. 16-0.
Incredible.
Yeah, people, to be undefeated in today's era, the thing about football is you can do everything right and still fall short. You can do everything right and still lose. And Indiana is 16-0 with road wins at Oregon, at Kinnick, at Penn State. Big Ten championship against Ohio State, ran Alabama off the field. The rematch for Oregon ran Oregon off the field. And that Miami team is loaded. There's a lot of NFL talent on that Miami team. And Indiana got it done. And it wasn't their best day, but they got it done. I just want to give you the floor. Anything about that game, the season? What do you think?
There aren't a lot of things in history that I was alive for, to remember vividly, to live in. A lot of things that, you see movies like, the great sports movies, Hoosiers, it's very adequate for right now. Remember the Titans, different things like that. And it's just like, man, I wonder what it would be like to live and see this stuff happening. Because when the movie comes out, right, you're watching it and it's different for you, right? It's not like a kid watching a great movie. It's a person that lived through what is actually happening, and you can kind of give context to people who are watching with you, like, maybe not like that, or, oh my goodness, that's exactly what happened. This is as historic as anything in sports. This is the greatest turnaround, and I don't think it's arguable in the history of sports to be alive and be able to witness and to be able to,
not just football, not just college football, sports.
Yes. And to be alive and be in the position we are in, where we got to call games for Indiana. We got to see how this really happened. It's incredible. It's incredible. Let's just take a second and just let me pitch you a movie. If you're Disney, let me pitch you a movie.
Yeah.
Got a coach, right? He's done well at the lower levels, but we want to give him a shot at a school who nobody expects anything from it. And to be quite honest, they're the worst team in the history of college football. Like the worst. Not like, it's not propaganda. It's not innuendo. Like literally the worst team in college football coming off of a bad season. We're going to just see what he can do. Now, what he's going to do is he's going to bring a bunch of lower level players, right? Guys that nobody wanted from a school called James Madison that wasn't even Division I top level school. And, they got moved out. We're going to bring this guy in. He's going to bring his guys in, right? And then he's going to win mostly all of his games in the first year, right? Then he's going to come up against an Ohio State with an injured quarterback. The ball's going to bounce the wrong way a few times, and it's going to feel like the feel-good story's over. They're going to lose, and then they're going to go to the playoffs, and everybody's going to be proven right. They didn't play anybody. They got throttled, and it's over. There's no way he does this again. Nobody's going to believe it. Devin Gardner won't. No, the thing's going to be all right, but they don't think it's going to be as good as they were before. Jake Butt doesn't believe they're going to be as good as they were before, right? All these great analysts, right? Then he's going to come into the season with a new quarterback. His name's Fernando Mendoza, and this is one quirky dude, right? He is going to be the star of the movie, right? Because now he's going to get a chance to play for a team, and at the end, at the culmination, he is going to play against the team in his hometown where he grew up 2 miles away. They didn't recruit him so much so.
His mom played tennis there.
They didn't recruit him so much so that he didn't even get a walk-on spot. They said, you're so not serious as a quarterback. We don't even want you to walk on here, even though you live right around the corner. You used to paint your face. You love it. You bleed it. Your dad played high school football with the head coach of the Miami Hurricanes. You're going to get to play them in the national championship at their stadium. You're going to win the Heisman. You're going to have great, memorable moments. And the one thing you're going to do in the game is dive for an icing touchdown on fourth down where you look like a superhero in the stadium that you grew up going to. And then the movie's just going to end. 16-0, the greatest season, and essentially, right, by the 16-0, the greatest season by a college football team, going from literally worst to first.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And
guess what? You're gonna throw it back in my face and say, you idiot, that could never happen. Nobody's gonna believe that.
Yeah. On that Mendoza run, Dev, before he dove into the end zone, he trucked a Miami Hurricane player. That guy's name was Wesley Bizienti. Well, when Mendoza was at Cal was playing Miami in a shootout, 38-32. Cal is driving to go ice the game. Wesley Bizienti, number 31, the safety for Miami, hit Mendoza so hard in that game, it knocked Mendoza out of the game. So Wesley knocked Mendoza out of the game because he hit him so hard last year. Now with the national championship on the line, 4th and 5, when earlier in the game, Mendoza was getting hit so hard, he had blood rushing out of his mouth.
Illegally, I might add.
Illegally.
Signetti was 100% right. Those were illegal hits. You can't just hit the quarterback just because you want to, but go ahead.
Yep. They were trying to beat him up. To get in the end zone, there's Wesley Bizienti, number 31. Again, Mendoza's going to have to make contact with him, and this time Mendoza trucks him before diving into the end zone. It's I'll add a few more things here too, Dev.
It's incredible.
Blue chip ratio. Like when Georgia was winning in Alabama and Ohio State and Michigan, everyone talks about blue chip ratio, your ratio of 4- and 5-star recruits as a percentage of your roster.
And no one's ever won cannot win without a good ratio. Can't.
No one's ever done it below 50%. Indiana doesn't have a single 5-star on their roster. Their blue chip ratio, I believe, was 8%. 8%. 8%. They did it. Both of the coordinators, Bryant Haynes, the defensive coordinator for Indiana, and Mike Shanahan, the offensive coordinator for Indiana, less than a decade ago when Signetti hired them at IUP, they were on food stamps because he could pay them $8,000 apiece. They were on food stamps not even a decade ago. And I think Haynes, with all of his bonuses, made over $3 million all in this year. So, I mean, D'Angelo Pons, 5'9", 170 pounds, plays
not big enough, not fast enough, can't do this, can't do that.
Nope, didn't want him. Arms aren't long enough, didn't want him. Yeah, I mean, and then Dev, I was thinking about this, about how people want to say, how repeatable is this? Maybe Indiana, it's just because they have older players, or hey, why don't you just spend more money on NIL? And I just think that that's absolutely ridiculous.
They're missing the boat.
Tell me some of these things, because I was writing down things that we talked about this year where Michigan had fallen short that were executed Monday night.
This should be good.
In-game decision-making and clock management by the head coach of Signetti. Mm-hmm. One, it's 4th and 5, calls a timeout. They're going to kick a field goal. 4th and 5, he says, all right, let's go send our quarterback back out on the field to go for it. And obviously that's the Mendoza touchdown run. And I'll get to that specific play in a second. I think one of the most underrated decisions in this game, Dev, was the timeout called by Signetti before the game-sealing interception. Because Miami was driving. Indiana had an uncharacteristic roughing the passer penalty. Carson Beck is starting to hit some checkdowns. Miami's driving. And Indiana said, wait a second, let's timeout. Let's reset, because
it's like a basketball team on a run.
That's exactly
you got to slow them down. You got to slow them down. Okay, let's stop them. Stop them right here. Take a deep breath. Let's reevaluate. Let's have some conversations.
And let's get our best play against their best play. That if it's there, Bryant Haynes told me after the game that in that huddle, he told his defense, he said, I'm telling you guys, Carson Beck is going to give us one. This guy is going to give us one. So they called a timeout to just let those guys know, hey, just go do your job, be in your position. And it was prophetic. They gave him one. They were ready. He intercepted the pass. Game-sealing interception.
And the technique by the corner, incredible. Cover 2.
Flawless.
Right? But young corners at home, if you're in cover 2, I've seen it all year by really talented corners, young guys, older guys. If you don't have an immediate threat in your flat, keep sinking. Keep sinking and double team and catch the interception to win the national championship. But go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. But how many times this year were we talking about, this has been a theme for Signetti all throughout the year, in-game decision-making, clock management, just dialed in. These little things that may seem insignificant for the majority of the season, they show up big in the big moments. Indiana executed. Here's one where I'll need your help on it, because you know quarterback better than me and better than most people. Mendoza, He's going to be the number one pick in next year's NFL draft.
Mm-hmm.
His reads and decision-making on RPOs, that 4th and 5 quarterback run, it was an RPO. They had a pass play concepts called on both sides, and Mendoza was told, hey, you're going to run this if the pass is dead. You got to read this one out. Mendoza obviously ran it, made the right decision, touchdown. He's after the game, Mike Shanahan, the offensive coordinator, said they called the exact same play against Oregon in the first matchup. Mendoza made the right call by throwing a back shoulder fade to Surratt, touchdown. So Mendoza's decision-making on RPOs. He didn't talk about the process, or he didn't talk about the result.
Of course.
Shanahan said his process to make the right decisions on these RPOs, Dev, all year long.
And this is where it starts, counting the box. Everybody remembers the Northwestern game where I outlined, listen, just because it's successful doesn't mean it works. Just because it may work. Just because it's successful does not mean it's the correct way to go about it, and it will hurt you. Or, in this case, it will help you, right?
Yes.
Because if as a quarterback, as a player, you remember Oregon. You remember having that same play called and throwing it and having success. You remember that. But you have to treat each play like an isolated incident. Against Oregon, heavy box, the throw is the better play, right? Against Miami, you got 5 offensive linemen. They've only got 5 guys in the box, and you got a running back.
Yeah.
The numbers are on your side. There will be no throws. There will be a run. And from a guy who is not a primary runner. He's not a runner by trade. However, what needs to be done will get done. He sees that the box is light. As much as he's had success throwing back shoulders on previous fourth downs and third downs, he still finds a way to say, listen, my process is going to take me to the right play. Not the fact that I want to throw for a lot of yards. I want to be the MVP. My process says I shouldn't throw this football. I should run it. And it proved to be an incredible decision. But it just takes us back to process over result. Process over result. Process over result over and over again.
And Shanahan said that. He said, all year long, Fernando Mendoza he's graded out at like a 95% plus on his RPO decision-making. He doesn't care about how the play ended. He just made the right decision. And obviously that's how you become undefeated. And then Mendoza, I got a few more here for you. He allows himself to be coached. Remember when Mendoza starting to get Heisman hope and hype, and Mendoza reached out to, I believe it was before the Penn State game, Big Noon Kickoff was in town. So Mendoza reached out to Matt Leinart, and he was saying, hey, man, how do you handle being a quarterback while also being in the running for the Heisman? And Cignetti comes out and says, what the hell are you talking about, Fernando? You're not good enough. You have so much work. Stop worrying about the Heisman. You have a lot of work to do. And you know what Mendoza said? He just quieted down and was like, yes, coach. So then what does the whole team do? Follows Mendoza. If your best player does it, then Mendoza does it.
It's so incredible, Jake, just to talk about that a little more, because for such a self-aware person, even he, who clearly self-aware, understand, and it's evidence of that, because at the season's over, he says a curse word, right?
Yeah.
He says, let's effing go, right? They ask him about it, and he says, well, all season, there's always been something that we still have to do, right? There always is the next thing. So I don't have the space and the opportunity to not give you the politically correct. And I need to make sure that I protect my teammates. I need to protect myself. I need to make sure we're still focused on one common goal. But now there is no next game. Let's effing go. You know what I mean? Like that self-awareness. And even someone that self-aware can fall into the trap of looking at themselves in the mirror and saying, pretty good. Oh, they're talking about me. Look at that. Look at that segment. Look at this. They want to know about my family. People are calling me. People are talking to me. People are grasping at me. And his family's done a really nice job of keeping all that noise quiet. But even with that, his self-awareness, his family keeping it quiet, his insane coach, he still fell into it a little. And then Cignetti, hey, this is where I need to step in and speak. Doesn't speak a bunch. However, this needed to be said. He said it. Get him right back on track. And the rest is history.
And then the team falls into line. It's a great point. It's that, like, what we're highlighting here is the culture of the team. I wanted to talk here another one about Indiana's defense. Okay, sure, Indiana has veteran players, experienced players. But if you have veteran experienced players and a bad game plan or bad coaching, you're going to lose because you have veteran smart players doing the wrong thing. The inverse would also be true. If you have a great game plan but inexperienced and unintelligent players, you're going to lose. Indiana has the marriage of outstanding game plans, scouting, and veteran experienced players. So it comes together all year long. Indiana has been a simulated pressure team. That's who they are. They send 4 or 5 guys. Like they're going to beat you with schemes and twists and stunts. Yes. Well, that is who they are. How often this year did we talk about, and Michigan's going to bring pressure regardless. That is who they are. And they don't change. This is who we are. Well, against Miami, Indiana ran their season high of drop 8 coverage. They wanted to drop more guys back into coverage and make Beck read the defense and throw into tight zones. So talk about the humility of a defensive coordinator. He's not worried about this.
Who's been great all year.
Who's been great all year. So he could say, he would not be wrong to say, this is who we are. But what he said was, what can I do to give us the best chance to win? And that subtle adjustment. There's fluidity that's just completely rare in today's college football. And it hits me to, I think, the most important point we've highlighted a bunch of different directions here is the selflessness. Haynes doesn't care about, he doesn't want 10 sacks in the national championship. Sure, that would make him look great. He wants to win. Shanahan doesn't care about the total offensive numbers. He wants to win. So they stick with the run throughout the game. He's not worried about his ego. The best players on Indiana play special teams. Mikhail Kamara was one of the best defensive ends in college football last year. Blocks the punt. D'Angelo Pons, obviously their best secondary player, blocked the punt against Illinois. Charlie Becker, this guy
runs down every single special teams. He's running down tackling on every single special teams. Yes, he did.
Yes.
Incredible.
So the best players have a selfless nature to them. Every great defensive end, this, Dev, they want to get sacks. Like I said, Mikhail Kamara, Indiana's defensive end, I think he led the Big Ten in sacks last year, was dropping into coverage consistently. It was a disappointing statistic year for him this year because he was dropping in coverage. But they're 16-0, and you never heard him complain once. The wide receivers, when they don't get passes, you never hear him complain. Elijah Surratt had a rough day. I mean, he didn't.
And he's a fire-breathing dragon, and he didn't complain. He didn't complain all season. Once. I remember there were games, and it's just like, it was the old Benning game, like just not getting them the football. And I'm like, he can't be okay with this. When I talk to the staff, he's like, hey, listen, he's been a great teammate, but guess what? He certainly wants the ball, and we certainly want to get it to him. We got to fix it, right? Yeah. Next game, they fix it. I think he has 2 or 3 touchdowns. I mean, the selflessness and the awareness of the coaches to understand the temperament of the players, right? Okay, I know Kamara wants to get sacks and he's not getting and the noise is getting really loud. Like, why aren't they allowing you to be you? Why aren't they allowing it? And somehow they found a way to navigate that and make sure every single person, every single player, every single coach, there is no ego and they all have that common goal in mind. And guess what? I mean, you don't have to guess. They won the national championship. Yeah. I can guarantee not one player on that team is saying, man, I can't believe I didn't contribute. Now I just got to wear this ring as a national champion, and I don't like it. What? No, of course not.
Right.
Of course not.
Right.
It's awesome.
And so that's the thing. It's like, okay, go spend more in the portal or go get a veteran experienced player who, if you're a veteran experienced player, you're going to commit to a school expecting to play and do what you've done throughout your whole career. But Indiana, there's no ego. Never once did you hear an Indiana Hoosier complain at all, and never once did you see poor body language. Never, not even the nonverbal cues. Never was there poor body language.
Yeah,
all these guys, the running backs, when they're not getting carries, on Mendoza's scramble, Kalon Black, the running back, came up and just smoked a Miami linebacker because he wants his team to win. There is a selfless nature about this team that is extremely rare. And then I'd say the last point, Dev, because we were talking about handshakes on the sideline this year and all the other extracurriculars. Jamari Sharp comes down with the game-sealing interception. It's game over. You're going to celebrate. They'll throw a flag. All good. He comes down with that interception. Everybody's celebrating. And there's a clip where Signetti is walking down the field, chewing Sharp out. Why are you getting a penalty? Because the standard doesn't change. Even though you just won the national championship.
And the game is over.
Game's over. But the standard doesn't change. The standard does not change. And you know what happened? You should watch the video. Sharp he sat there, looked his coach in the eye, didn't say a single word, let himself be coached, walked off the field, and then they celebrated after. And it's just like, that's not easily repeatable, Dev. Every single coach says, we got to protect the football. We want to win the turnover battle. We have to avoid being penalized. Man, we have to tackle well. We have to be fundamentally sound. We have to play the same way regardless of the situation. Every coach says that. Every coach says it. Indiana does it. Indiana does it better than anyone else. So it's not going to be easily repeatable.
By other teams.
By anybody. One of our analysts on the desk is Rhett Lewis. He's a former Indiana wide receiver, works at the Big Ten NFL Network, does some great stuff. He was an Indiana wide receiver right around the year 2000. Won 16 games in his entire career. 16 cumulative games in his entire career. And the team just went 16-0 in one season.
It's incredible, man. It's incredible. I'm at a loss for words. Round of applause for Indiana. And guess what? Michigan, why not you?
Why not?
Why not you? Right?
There was First the blueprint right there.
The blueprint has been laid. It's about production rather than potential. In today's college football, production rather than potential. And I think Michigan has a real opportunity with the way that now, I've gone on record saying I did not love the hire, did not hate the hire. I like it. And with the moves that are being made, particularly in the quarterback room, I already outlined a couple weeks ago with Beck and Detmer Jr., perfect guys for the development of quarterbacks. They bring in 2 new quarterbacks. We'll talk about that on the other side. And on the other side, Jake, we've got a quarterback guru who has opinions on everything that we can talk about, including the quarterbacks. He knows the quarterbacks that are coming in. I mean, George Whitfield it's almost like he started the quarterback training deal, and his resume, which I'm going to give you on the other side before we bring him in, is impeccable, pretty untouchable. And you should listen to everything he has to say about this quarterback competition coming up. All right. Welcome back into the Blueprint. I'm Devin Gardner. That's the All-American Jake Butt. And as promised, we have a guest. You know, on this show, we talk so much quarterback. So why wouldn't we have the quarterback guru in attendance? So before we bring him in, I'm going to outline a few of the accomplishments. We don't have all day, so I can't give them all, but we're just going to give you just kind of the nuts and bolts of how great he has been in the quarterback training space and as a player, right? So in 3 seasons, 97 to 2000 at Tiffany University, George Whitfield became the all-time leading passer. Shortly thereafter, 2004, he started Whitfield Athletics, right? So that's as a player, right? Just got a chance to play, got it done. And then he became a quarterback trainer. He transitioned, he pivoted, you know. And here are a few stats. 2 Heisman Trophy winners, 3 number 1 overall picks, 4 first-rounders, and a plethora of other great quarterbacks that he's trained, worked with, touched, got his hands on, made sure was prepared for the fire that is being a quarterback. And then he's a former Massillon Tiger. He's the pride of the Massillon Tigers. It's in Ohio, so it's, you know, you take with that what you will. And the best thing he's ever done, the best thing, he's the father to Kennedy. So, with that being said, George Whitfield, ladies and gentlemen.
Bravo.
George Whitfield.
Appreciate that, fellas.
George Whitfield.
Appreciate that. Honor to be here. Jake Butt, like we said, we've tracked each other for a long time, always respected your voice. Obviously, your career, we've all seen that, but I've paid close attention to your voice and your takes. Clear, made sense, pushed the conversation forward. And Dev, we go back and forth all the time. So,
Oh yeah.
And I will say, just for those listening, Devin Gardner was one of those students.
Yeah.
I remember being in outer Detroit on different football fields and getting a chance to work with Dev and talk with him. Just so phenomenal. If Devin was playing now, and I think you already had a unbelievable career, but today's offenses with these coordinators,
please just stop it. You're killing me here.
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
do it.
But I am excited, and a big shout out to the producer Adam for all this tech lapses here in San Diego. San Diego doesn't lapse too much, but he got us going. So thank you.
So George,
real quick, Massillon, Ohio is like 2 hours from Pickerington. Do you know? I used to play soccer in Massillon, Ohio. You're just south of Cleveland.
Correct. Well, we would say Cleveland's just north of us, but
okay.
Yeah, Pickerington. Big respect in Pickerington. That's a big sport town. You know what you get when you go down there. You're gonna compete. They got football, wrestling, they hoop, soccer.
Wait, Jake, time out. We're not going to just skate past this. You play soccer?
I did.
That is hilarious.
What do you think you got that footwork from?
That's hilarious.
Exactly.
So tall.
I hated
I'm sure you were tall your entire
basketball.
life, so playing soccer at that height with all the rest of the normal-sized kids was probably hilarious to watch.
I did not want to play football. I was so mad at my dad when he made me play football. I had to give up soccer for it. But like George said, the footwork is key.
Yeah,
it's key.
So
but
George,
San Diego is much better than Massillon, Ohio.
That goes without saying. That goes without saying.
My bad. Go ahead.
In a day-to-day, yes. Friday nights in the fall, I don't think there's a place on the. But yeah, day-to-days, like we're dealing with 68 degrees.
Okay,
today.
Relax. See, the people don't know. George set his camera up with the sun in the background, knowing it wouldn't work, just so he can, he said it's not a flex. It's more for motivational purposes. And we're sitting in the snow. It's all cold. But let's get down to it. As some of you know, I'm an Elite 11 coach, but George is an Elite 11 coach as well. So we get to talk so much quarterbacks. We get to see these quarterbacks before they even become anything, right? When they're just coming up, trying to find their way. And we saw a quarterback, and his name is Colin Hurley. The cool thing about Colin Hurley, he was 16 going against 18 and 19-year-olds, and we didn't even know he was 16. Remember that, Joe? Remember we find out, this kid is a child.
We thought
he's 16 against all these other real dragons? And so really first I want you to give your assessment of Colin, and then your assessment of the situation. Obviously, you watch Bryce Underwood closely. Talk about what the fans can get out of what the coaching staff is doing by adding competition in that room.
So first of all, like Devin was saying, we got to see Colin as a sophomore in high school. When you watch, I think athletes in general, but when you watch young quarterbacks, the first thing they got to do is figure out, who am I? Not to get esoteric, but I'm just saying, I'm a ball player. I'm the casual guy. I'm the funny guy. None of this. I press. I'm the guy my dad thinks needs me to go be. I'm trying to go be that guy. Not Colin Hurley. This dude, people are impressive at that age. Yes, with measurables and physicality, Jake. But the other thing that makes him impressive is that EQ, that maturity. And Jake, you've been around quarterback as much as Devin and I. A guy you're working out with, they're in practice, misses 2 throws, you glance back and they're kicking the dirt, or they're cussing themselves out, or clapping, or all these antics. Or a guy misses a couple of throws and he looks like, all right, I'll make that adjustment. No ripple in the line. It's just on to the next. I got that. They could exude confidence, no flinch from the outcome. That was Colin at a super young age. So he was impressive. And then obviously big, physical, this. So to come to Michigan, that's a value add, and that's what coaching staffs and programs are supposed to do. Get the best players. Yes, Bryce Underwood has a chance to be a dragon, but you want the kid next to him and the kid next to him. You want all those guys to be as good as they possibly could be. So that's the goal. Great job by Michigan.
Yeah, and I think that EQ piece is something that people just ignore. And we talked about it extensively this year because the EQ wasn't there for mostly anybody in the Michigan football program, but specifically from the head coach and the quarterback in concert. It just never felt like they were in control of the situation. And it was all about what happened rather than the process of getting to the results. And so the thing that really impressed me about Colin, like you said, is you're in an atmosphere with all the best quarterbacks in the world, right? Let's not say the country, let's say the world, because in Mexico and Europe, those quarterbacks, those guys aren't good enough, right? So the top high school quarterbacks in the United States, those are the best quarterbacks in the world. And the difference between a 16-year-old and an 18, 19-year-old is a huge, huge difference. Not to mention going to college at 16. We always talk about iron sharpening iron, and everybody uses it, and they honestly, in my opinion, they use it a little loosely, just because it's not always iron sharpening iron. It's some lesser metal sharpening iron, right? Which can't really happen. Or the iron is versus diamonds. You know what I mean? It's never really that equal playing field. But in this case, we talk about Bryce Underwood's talent. Well, how talented do you need to be 16 years old and make the Elite 11 and compete with 19 other guys that are 18, 19-year-old, much farther along in their development? I want you to talk about what this will do for that quarterback room, adding a guy who is a proven, what we've seen from him, fire-breathing dragon, being able to compete at a high level without the age of all the rest of the guys, and a guy who is ultra talented in Bryce Underwood, who is still learning and improving. Now he gets to do it with somebody who's the same age, same talent, and they'll see what comes out of it.
I love it. I love it for Bryce more than anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Colin's in, and it's great for Michigan and great for Michigan depth as I'm kind of moving around in here. But it's when you have another body like yours and physical traits like yours, and every time you glance over, I swung my sword and got a result, and boom, okay, all right. I can't relax. You don't want to relax. Most of us think we're self-starters and we're self-prepared, and your pilot light is propelled by yourself. Every now and again, having somebody like that, they can go in there and light that pilot light for you too, and or just heat you up. I love this for Bryce. If he embraces it, it'll make him a monster, because that's what's going to wind up happening at the next level, and he's got plans for that. There is no quarterback in the NFL where they're just going to go get, as J.J. Redick said, some painters and plumbers and just let them sit in here. There's just no such thing. It's going to be veterans and another young quarterback who may not have hit his place. They're going to bring you in, and so embrace. He's been competing his whole life, and he's been winning most of those competitions. I would embrace it. That's what he wants. I put this thing up by 30. I want the next guy I'm going to give the ball to go in there and increase. I want that. So I hope he embraces it.
George, last year, and I think Whittingham joined Urban Meyer on a podcast, and they literally laughed at the fact that Michigan didn't have a dedicated quarterback coach. I mean, I'm laughing a little bit even thinking about it behind my tears because of how Michigan fell short, probably partly in reason to that. So Michigan didn't have a quarterback coach. And then also a lot was made about Bryce winning the quarterback competition. But Devin and I know, and I think more people are starting to realize, there was really no quarterback competition. Davis Warren was injured. Mikey Keene was injured. They brought in Garcia late. There really wasn't much competition. So if you take that context of no quarterback coach, there wasn't competition. Bryce was extremely young when he got on campus. How did you evaluate Bryce's performance last year, taking all that into consideration?
That's the best question I've heard in a long time. It bared out. Exactly. You got the exact results you could expect from a talented, green quarterback, minus all those things. First of all, when we talk about the quarterback coach position, it's the most undercoached position in football. It's just always inherited by the coordinator. Or the coordinator will inherit it, and then an analyst, why don't you come in and just occupy these guys while I go get the game play? Like, it's that. Tight ends have their coach, backs have their coach, receivers have their coach. You need somebody not just to coach and develop, but to pace you. Where we were last week, we can't be there next week. Like, they have to be able to pace you. The second thing, the absence of any type of competition, you just kind of roll in. The most vicious competitors, you would just roll in. There's nobody else on the jungle floor. There's nobody else out here splitting ones. No one else is out here is going to tax me or make me pay for an average or bad practice. So my bar will recede. No directional, no positional coach, and no equal opposite, even if it's just on the depth chart. Oh, well then, yeah, just such a strange thing. I saw that with Coach Whittingham saying that. I think this move, I think everything coming up front is the best thing for Bryce, and it's also going to be great for Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible to see because, George, I've talked to you about this, but I'll reiterate it. I was on record saying I don't love this move for a different number of reasons, but I also don't hate this move, right, for a number of reasons because of the success that Whittingham has had, and I just liked it. And so if you have a meter, right, so say, 10 is love it, 1 is, or 0 is hate it. I was about 5.5, right, getting into 6.
On which part?
Going toward loving it, right? Just 5.5, right in the middle, right? Like smack dab in the middle of liking
of the new
coaching staff, right? And really, it was really Whittingham, right? The new coaching hire, right? Just him isolated, no staff, no players, right? And then you get Beck and you get Detmer, right? Two guys that have clearly shown not only offensively, just as an offensive play caller and understanding and designing offenses that are quarterback friendly, but also the development of said quarterbacks. I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, I'll go from I'm from 5, I'm getting more to 7, right? Then you bring in not only Colin Hurley, you bring in another quarterback as well that we will talk about in the next segment, but you bring in real organic competition, not placeholder, not mentor. You bring in equal talent, wants to play, will fight like hell to get everything he wants. That move, maybe not a 10, I'm at a 9 at least. I'm just telling you, because that tells me that Whittingham, and as an older coach, I should have seen this coming. He doesn't care about how much Bryce Underwood is getting paid. He doesn't care about keeping people happy. He cares about winning for Michigan, and that's all we want. He cares about winning for what is the best thing that we can do to help win for Michigan. And the best thing you can
Michigan.
do it's not about for Whittingham.
Player.
It's not about for Bryce Underwood. It's not about for Colin Hurley. It's not about for Devin Gardner. It's not about for Jake Butt in our honorary Wolverine on this show. It's not about George Whitfield. It's about what can we do to win for Michigan. Great coordinator.
Let me ask you both.
Quarterback coach.
Have
competition.
So, Dev, you've been calling games for quite some time, and Jake, as you have. Have either of you met Coach Whittingham?
I've never had Whittingham.
I mean, as Michigan dignitaries, I know you've met him now. You haven't met him?
Haven't. No. I never had a Utah game. As much Big 12 as I do, I never got a Utah game. I kind of prayed for me to not get a Utah game because of the name, so I'll just say that. I'm not gonna say it's Fox's fault. I just didn't want to have to do those names all game. It's just very difficult. I'm just telling you.
It is a lot of poly names.
Yeah.
So for both of you, I've been around them quite a bit. Just remember, the last head coach before Coach Whittingham at Utah was Urban Meyer. It spans almost 2 decades. He's the last head coach. It's Urban Meyer and then Coach Whittingham. It's like how they do with the Steelers. He is, for the audience, I'm just going to assume most of the audience hasn't been around him or slap five with him or kind of watched him or hung out with him, he is a lot like John Dutton on Yellowstone. There's a lot of John Dutton to Coach Whittingham in that there's a bravado. It's not over the top, but it's like real base common. It's like baseline common sense, toughness. Yeah, his responses, like nothing spooks him. A small thing he treats like a small thing. A big thing he'll turn and square up on it. This dude's working out all the time. Like there are some coaches, obviously we know who they are, who are always working out, but it's not like pre-core. It's not elliptical stuff. He's putting himself through real grit and grind. He'll sit in the office with a cutoff T-shirt, not because he's flexing. It's half sweat through, and I'm going to get a little bit of work done before I get on with the rest of the day. It is some John Dutton elements, and it's not too dissimilar from what Coach Harbaugh brought. Coach Harbaugh likes bringing that fight into a phone booth. Let's that guy bumps you in the bar. At a minimum, we got to
at a minimum.
We will. At a minimum, we're going to turn and square up. Coach Harbaugh had it to where you see Michigan on the schedule, or you see those team buses pull up. You know what's in store, and that's going to be that type of. I mean, you saw the type of violence and the type of biker gang mentality Utah has been playing with for years. They were mauling these prettier, more open offenses out there in the Pac-12 for years, mauling them. And I think that's going to be coming back here to Michigan. But it is, it to me, John Dutton. There are some senators in the Big Ten. There are some really good coaches in the Big Ten. Obviously it's the best league. But, yeah, if Coach Harbaugh was wearing cleats in the building, which he was wearing cleats with his pants.
Yeah.
In the Michigan building, he's not going to do this, but don't be shocked if Coach Whittingham, you look down and you see a pair of Tecovas or some Cavender boots or something like that. It is just that type of toughness that it'll be exuded at Michigan.
Now, George, you just said something that I'm just telling you. We're going to get into it a little more, and we're probably going to make a clip of it because it needs to be said. You said the Big Ten, obviously the best conference. It goes without saying. And for years, the SEC paying the players and stacking their rosters was known as the most dominant conference, not even close. They were first and second, then there was everyone else. But now that you can pay players legally, now that you can't just have some 5-star player sitting on the end of your bench and you just got a great backup because maybe he just wasn't good enough, better than the other 5-star. And so now you got 3 or 4 in a row. And so even when you give a guy a spell, your defense doesn't suffer, your offense doesn't suffer. And so you're dominant for a very, very long time. But now it's legal to pay everyone. And for some reason, it just seems as the luster has been lost. What is your take on, and not the SEC's fall from grace, right? Because they're still really, really good, especially at the top, throughout. But they just aren't the dominant force that they were. And the Big Ten now winning 3 straight Big Ten championships, 2 undefeated, 1, What is your take on the dominance that that the Big Ten has now exuded when the playing field is clearly leveled?
I'm going to say the one what you said is, maybe those guys down south from you. I'll say this. I've had the ultimate ride career-wise to be in all these different buildings. This is before they put a little makeup on you and they're messing with your mic. This is like just old grinder days. You're in these small college towns and you get a chance to hang with the general for a little bit and you're talking about his quarterbacks or he's talking about quarterbacks outside the building. I have seen and heard enough to write a phenomenal bestseller on SEC NIL back in the day. They've been doing NIL.
Oh, yeah.
They've been doing NIL. And I'm talking through the head coach of the high school program, through this little car piece. One school got a tractor for a family, a farming family, so their son could be a brand new combine, like a turbine or combine. It's $300 or $400,000. Like, it's been the most unique business operation down there forever.
Mm-hmm.
Now, legally, not only are you allowed to do it, you're mandated to do it. Fascinating. That evened out. And then if you bring it back to today's football, this is 3 straight years with 3 different crowns, with an Oregon team that's been right on the verge of all 3 years.
They're knocking.
Penn State will be back up on its horse here in no time flat. Iowa all of a sudden understands offensive football with the addition of Tim Lester, and they've been challenging. And there's going to be more that come roaring out of there. Michigan State's making a lot of noise, the little brother. But, that speaks. And I got caught up in my Go Blue deal here. No disrespect, Michigan State. But, expect these guys, expect this to keep going, I would say.
Yeah.
I got to ask you something here, too. Well, first off, nothing was funnier than when Indiana, the losingest program in college football, absolutely whooped Alabama.
Blasted them.
Alabama fans. But then they start preaching about competitive integrity and integrity of football. I'm like, Alabama fans on Twitter, excuse me. I'm like, Alabama fans talking about the integrity of the game.
Yeah, no, that's never.
Get out of here.
When Coach Saban had Alabama, I used to just refer to him as the Roman army. They were going to come to your town.
I like that.
And by the time they left, it would be rubble and ashes, some smoke. I mean, that empire, they were going all over crusading around college football. I mean, that 3-legged dog that last Roman soldier would look down and see, get him. Yeah. Even the 3-legged dog, Alabama was crushing everything. And then, there's a fear. There's a fear factor. And then now, it's fascinating. And I know Coach DeBoer is going to get that deal humming again. But to watch Bama and that line of scrimmage between them and Indiana, Alabama couldn't make a dent.
Right.
They just abandoned running the football. And then, then you see what happened with the other SEC programs. It's not just going to be forever, but you know how my good buddy Maria Taylor, she's like, it just means more. Her and David Pollock, it just means more. The Big Ten, it's meaning more right now. That's definitive. I love it, and it's not from one of the powers they could obviously circle and point to. This happening for Indiana and the Big Ten. I don't even know. Kentucky is closer in the realm of doing this than we would have thought Indiana would.
Yeah.
So if Kentucky can do that in the SEC, then it speaks. I mean, it'd be a.
You're baffled, like all of us.
Baffled.
George, I got to ask you something here, because this is one thing I've wondered for a while. Certain teams have an identity. You mentioned Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh's identity was toughness. If you're a running back, you want to go play for Harbaugh, or a lineman, you want to go play for Harbaugh. But then I look in the Big Ten, and Ohio State with Ryan Day, and then it was Urban Meyer before him. Every year it seems like they get a high-level quarterback. It's a given their quarterback is going to be in that Heisman conversation, especially just as a Heisman finalist. Oregon under Dan Lanning, even with the defensive head coach, since he's been there, you get Raiola to go, and now Dante Moore decides to come back. Cignetti now with Indiana, he said, if you play quarterback for me, you're going to be a postseason individual awards and team awards. Lincoln Riley with USC is another one where these teams every year get quality quarterback play. It is just a given. And I'm wondering, in your opinion, why? Because I want to know why. How does Michigan get there? Is it, of course, wide receiver talent? Ohio State's got it. USC, Oregon. But I don't think Surratt, Becker, and Cooper, those guys are great wide receivers for Indiana, but they're not first-round talents like Jeremiah Smith or like Ohio State's has. So Agreed. Is it wide receiver talent? Is it the emphasis on the passing game? Do you think they simply just get better quarterbacks? Like, is it just simply they have better, more talented quarterbacks? Or do you think they have like better quarterback coaches? Like, what's the recipe for how these teams are able to reload every year? In your opinion, how would Michigan get there?
Another great question. This is some 2020 60-minute stuff, Jake. This is a great question. Humbly, I think it's just how they value the room. Oregon values its quarterback room. We are going to be both attacking and we're also going to protect you. And it's also all the head men you spoke about. Lincoln Riley has been doing phenomenal things with quarterbacks for the last 10, 15 years. Like quietly, he's got 5 or 6 guys starting in the NFL right now. And they sustain. It's not flash and then they disappear. Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts, Caleb Williams, like all these rascals, and I'm probably missing out on some.
All different too. All different.
All different.
Yeah.
They hit the old USC where they're all 6'5" and look the same. Like he finds ways to maximize potential. I would say it's how these coaches have put value on their quarterback room, and it really starts culturally. Listen, we got you. We want you to be the steward of this program. We want you to be the steward of this offense, putting great character people around them, and then treating them with the dignity that they really require with all that chaos and fight that's going outward. I've told this to Dev, and he'll smile when I say this, Jake, but playing that quarterback position, you have to have a great corner. You got to have a great cut man. You got to have a great bucket guy. So when I'm out here fighting and going, and I come back, when I come back over to the corner, I need the guy with that cold press to bring my eye back down. Well, that starts with the head man. If the head man, offensive coach, defensive coach, if he has a dismissive feel towards bad play, slow start, slow this, slow that, it wears back on the quarterback. And now I get into my corner. I'm getting barked at and beat on in my corner. And when the bell rings, I'm supposed to go fight out there and fight back here. I think Coach Harbaugh always did that. You always see that little thing he does
in the beginning.
He's trying to get it. Yeah. And then Urban Meyer was a lot like that. Stays with his guys. How do they respond if I stumble? If I throw a pick six, third play of the game, if we're at halftime and I'm still stalling and I'm trying to get it going, are you quick to just get me out of here, or are you going to tinker tactically? Are you going to come over here and try to get a feel for where I am? Open this small door up and redo some wires. These sorts of things, these programs have figured it out. And Cignetti, no, I don't even think I've ever even seen him and Mendoza hug, let alone anything else. But he supports him in other ways. I saw some touchdowns. If you didn't know it was a touchdown, you would have thought maybe they fumbled based on that expression.
They really haven't hugged.
But he supports him. They are supported. They support their rooms. Yes, they attract talent. Yes, they get coordinators in. Yes, they have really good quarterback coaches. But from an organizational standpoint, it isn't really just, all right, quarterbacks here and everybody else and this and that. They do put the reverence on that position, and they're all getting tremendous value out of it. That's how you're going to win in college football.
They treat the room like an asset, right? And when you have an asset, you have to protect it, right? And I remember, do you remember at the Elite 11, not this past year, the year before, when Pete Carroll came, and we got that great talk where we closed the doors, the cameras were off, and we got to really just talk and understand his thinking behind how he treated Russell Wilson in the atmosphere with the Seahawks, how they got a chance to win a championship, get to another one, and also how it fell apart. And it was because, and he said he wouldn't do it any other way because that's what needs to be done for a quarterback. It has to be separate a lot of times, right? Because of the tinkering that you have to do. You have to have him, it has to be held at a different reverence, right? The room has to be talked to differently. It has to be a kind of rearranged differently. You can't treat your quarterback like everyone else. Now, publicly, you try to do it as much as possible. However, when you're in those private situations in those areas, and they're in the corner and you're the cut man, you have to make sure that he is the best he can possibly be when he goes back out there to fight the actual battle, right?
100%.
You cannot, you said it, you cannot fight for your life, coughing up blood, dying on the field because you're giving it everything you got, you prepared, or else you wouldn't be the guy, and then go to your corner and they're in the same fight, right? They're fighting you as if you're trying to lose, as if you don't hold the position that you have at the utmost reverence.
I would
say you nailed
it. I agree with that. I would say the line between quarterback and head man, especially these starters, the connectivity between those two, it's the most important bond possibly in the building. Like, and you see a lot of these coaches
on the campus, maybe
even
that's a good point.
On campus. Mendoza and Coach Signetti, like they don't have the same personality, like clearly, but they have an awful lot of universal things about the two of them that they found connection to. When you watch Coach Lanning with Nix, and you watch Coach Lanning with Dylan Gabriel and Dante Moore, the line between the two of those, that fiber optic connection that goes between them, humming.
And like, that's an interesting group because those three are three totally different humans.
Totally different.
As far as personality. You got Bo Nix, who is going to scream in your face and tell you, I hate that play. Don't call it again. You got Dylan Gabriel, who's just going to do everything you asked. Everything you ask of him, he's going to try to do it, whether he hates it or likes it. You'll never know. And then you got Dante Moore. That's a mix between the both, where he's not going to show you up on the field in front of the others. However, he's going to say, I'm going to do what you ask. However, don't quite agree with, you know what I mean? And so those different personalities.
That head man came down and met them all where they are.
Yeah.
He's the one that carries the sword and shield. I'm going to compete as a head coach through you. And then that quarterback, when I'm out there and I'm about to take the snap, the sentiment's the same. I'm going to compete out here through you. But once you get that humming back and forth, and you already mentioned the very best ones, Lanning, Riley, Day, a lot of what you're seeing right now with Coach Signetti, and there are obviously more. There are some great coaches. But once you start talking about the separation of these great quarterback rooms, it's the recruiting, it's the money, it's this, it's that. Yeah, but we've seen a whole lot of big money guys not go anywhere, and we've seen a whole lot of big money head coaches get fired or get released or whatever it's going to be. If you can come down and those two can meet each other, and I'm going to compete through you, now we're on to something.
So
we're on to
something.
But George, I've empowered you to go.
I have a question here because Signetti, not Signetti, Whittingham, older coach, very veteran, two of the youngest quarterbacks that are in college football right now. Two. Those are the guys competing. How do you get on the level of someone so young? Like, what is the pathway to get, right? Because a lot of times you have a veteran guy that you kind of can connect with, you can understand a little better. But you got two very, very young kids, in my opinion. Young men, but kids. How do you—
At Michigan?
Yeah. How do you get on that? How do you come down to that level without completely losing who you are? Because we love who you are. But how do you get on that level to make sure that they feel like the connection is there and not only get down to their level, bring them up to your level so you kind of meet somewhere close to the middle?
Humbly, non-football things, I think. You got this whole off season, non-football things. Let me go understand you as a man. And then I want you to understand me as a man. Where do we have strong bonds? Boy, we both love that. We both disdain that. I've tried that. I got broken and beat up and this and that on that particular thing. And then you did too. And you know, just like those sorts of things, like outside of sport that time, then you start to kind of cover that common ground. I am about to go meet with a basketball coach because they're coming in here. I'm going up at 10. Can we do this?
You've given us plenty, George. We were just holding.
Can I give you 1 minute, though, George, real quick, to add on that question? 1 minute. With Signetti, I don't think Sig and Mendoza, I don't see that as a close relationship. I think the foundation of it is alignment of goals. Like
Mission
Signetti says,
oriented.
yeah, Mendoza, hey Mendoza, you want to be the best quarterback in college football and have a great NFL career. That's the foundation, because Signed says our friendship will be, I believe in you that you can accomplish that. And I'm going to hold you to that standard every single day. And sometimes you might not like it, but I'm also going to help you get there. And in that sense, I'm like, I wonder if being friends, like, do you want to be friends, or is it, that's to me the most important
No.
piece, you know, like
Friends, no. Understanding, yes.
Mm.
But you're right, Jake.
understanding.
As long as
Understanding.
we understand each other, we don't have to walk around campus like that. But as long as I know,
I wish you could stay
we're
longer
firing
and
you
tell
up
the
with
Jalen
chickens.
Hurts and Lincoln Riley relationship that did not exist.
Another time.
I wish you could,
That
but
did
we
not
don't have
exist.
time. You got to go. You're a busy man. We appreciate you, man, but it's been awesome.
Thanks, George.
And I can't thank
Hey,
you enough
thank you.
for – I'm just telling you,
Thank you,
may
guys.
be Go Blue forever now, because you just gave a lot of the blueprint on how Michigan is going to get to where they want to be.
Period.
100%. Thank you both.
Appreciate you.
Keep killing it.
Of course. Dev, before
See
we
it.
cut to break, I want to ask you something here as George is wrapping up, man. Thanks, George. Dev, when George was talking about everything he just said about, you know, how they put value on the quarterback room is how he said it. Go back to your time. If you could change, or if you could add one thing, or maybe take one thing away, like what would be like one thing when you were the starting quarterback at Michigan? Because I agree with George, like the talent you have is undeniable. If you were playing in today's world with RPOs, we wouldn't be doing this podcast. You'd probably be worth $100 million. But what would you change? What one thing, if you could?
So a big thing for me is I was able to, you remember the big games, Notre Dame, Ohio State, when we playing these games, I was able to tap into a realm that I just couldn't always tap into. I was always talented to do things really well and all that. And obviously we didn't block all the time, different things like that. But in those games, it felt like it didn't matter, right? And it's almost like that big battle you're building up to. And it's like, okay, I know that I want to be able to shoulder this load against, say, Wisconsin. I don't even think we play Wisconsin, but I want to shoulder this load, but will I have enough when the game comes? Right? I want to be able to have some left, right? And it's not even a conscious thought. It's more of a feeling of your foot is broken, but who cares? This is this, right? It's just more, it's just bigger than that. And so the one thing that I help young quarterbacks with that I don't think we did a great job of, because I was kind of a loner where, you know, I would go watch film. I wouldn't really bring anybody. I would just try to figure it out to help the team, when it's much better to bring guys along. That's the maturity piece that I wish I would have had. If, like, I knew how to work. I knew how to make sure that I'm in the best position. But when you're doing it alone, and then you expect someone to understand what you want from them, they can't understand it, right? There's nothing you can do because they don't know the work you've put, you know? And so the one thing I do with young quarterbacks is first, obviously, tell them to bring them along. But I wish someone would have explained to me how simple football is. Ooh. And let me explain, especially for young quarterbacks, right? Because remember, what am I, 3 or 4 offenses in the 5 years, right? So it's always learning something new and trying to figure out, trying to forget the old, learn something new. Whereas I shouldn't have forgotten the old. Now, did I completely forget it? No, but I tried to flush it so that I can understand the new. But finding the similarities in the old that can transition me and help me understand what the new is trying to do. It's the same thing, right? I'll give you a perfect example, right? Everybody we talked about it a number of times, and I think Chip Lindsey did a really good job of having different plays, but they're the same play, right? Different plays are the same play. It's high to low, it's reading across. You got slot fade with a hitch outside. What is that, Devin? That's not slot fade. Well, let's say we call that Nebraska, right? You got a slot fade from the inside and a hitch outside. Let's say we call that Nebraska. But we call a smash Nike. Nike and Nebraska are the same thing. But in my mind, it's 2 separate plays, and everything's moving too fast. You're trying to learn it, and it's just like, That's our old Nike. It's just done a little differently. You don't have to rewire your entire brain to understand a new play. It's the same play. It's honestly the same type of read. It's just called something different and done a little bit of a different way. And so that's the one thing that I wish I had a me to simplify. Like, hey, what did you used to have? Okay, what do you have now? Well, that's just that. That you don't have to relearn. Mm-hmm. That's just that. You can, and it's in a number of different concepts that are married to each other because that's what good offense is. You see the Rams, you see the 49ers, you see all these Ben Johnson. They're not reinventing the wheel, but they are finding ways to simplify things for the quarterback to make sure that you put guys in similar positions coming from different places where the defense is confused, but you know exactly what you're doing because you're doing it all the time. And so that's the one thing I wish I had. I wish I had the ability because when you're changing offenses, you hadn't changed as much, but you know how difficult it is to learn all the checks and understand pointing the mics and how does each coach want to do it. It's different. It's same. It has some similarities. That is the one thing, and it's not necessarily a regret because now I know that and I can impart that into the young quarterbacks I work with so that they don't have the anxiety of not only understanding what you have to do all new again, but also trying to make sure that Jake Butt knows and make sure that guy knows. And it's just like, it's a bunch of what rather than the why. And if I think I had that would have been something that really been beneficial.
So yeah, I'm hearing it like this, like, and that's another way to talk about like putting value in the quarterback room, because what that would come down to is, you know, on one end you would have a coach saying, hey man, we have a big playbook. You got to memorize it. This is Nike and this is Nebraska. You make sure you know the details of these two plays. But another coach might say, let me think about how I can make this easier on my quarterback so he can play confident. Mm-hmm. Hey, Dev, look, man, you love this concept right here, Nike. This Nebraska play, I know it looks different. It's really the same play. Don't you see that, Dev? Mm-hmm. Like it's getting to the same spot. I'm hearing that. That's kind of what you're saying, right? Of 100%. Like, hey, it would require the head coach of having the awareness of, I need to have the right framing and right framing to my quarterback because I need him to be confident, mm-hmm. and spending time then on how to do that by simplifying things. Mm-hmm. So on one end, it's like, Dev, we need you to bing, 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 bing. And then if you don't get it right, it's going to be on you. Yeah. You know, then if you don't get it right, it's going to be on you. But the other end would be, hey man, I know this looks like a lot, but really, man, you love this Nebraska concept. You've had a ton of success here, Nike. This is going to be a play you also love because it's very simple.
And Jake,
right?
Remember what George was talking about understanding rather than friendship, right? Not handshakes, understanding, right?
Yeah.
And when you go through those processes, not trying to become friends, but figuring out who you are, what you believe in, how does that relate to what I believe in? How can we connect in that way? And it creates that understanding. One thing that you inherently do understand as well is how he learns, right? How does my quarterback learn, right? Because the way that I see things, obviously, I think that that's a very simple way of understanding, but maybe that just doesn't work for someone else, right? And the more you know about that person, about that quarterback, the more you understand what makes him tick, the more you understand how he learns, and the better you can be at finding how you simplify things to make sure that he's his best, most optimal performance. I just think that's the one thing. And Borges was a good coach. Nussmeier, really good coach. But a lot of it, especially for Nussmeier, was super sped up. It's super, like for Borges, I had been in the offense so long, so it was all good. Even though I had come from Rich Rod, I got a chance to watch, so it was all good. But then when you transition to Nussmeier, it's an entirely new offense, entirely different language. And so now you're racing to try to get ready. And remember, I was limited in the spring because I had broken my foot, right? So I'm limping around, but I'm still trying to prepare because I'm a physical learner. I need to learn by doing it. I can't just sit out in the spring and watch, which probably hurt me a little more because it never really properly healed. But I needed to do that. And being able to have that type of coaching of, hey, this is just this. Don't worry about this. Just relax. This is this. You don't have to be stressed out about this. It would really take some of the anxiety off because I'm just telling you, when you play in that quarterback position, in most positions, but that quarterback position, the anxiety levels are as high as anything in the world. It's like being a surgeon, right? Every single play depends on what you do, period. Yeah. From the handoff, right? We've seen games lost because of a botched handoff where all you're doing is giving the ball to someone else. And it depends on you. The snap from the center, we've seen it, right? All things depend on you, and that comes with a set of different expectations that create anxiety that can be alleviated. So you got to find spaces, because you're going to have anxiety. Can't avoid it. But you got to find spaces to alleviate some of that anxiety, and understanding that concepts aren't as difficult as they may seem is the way to do it. And you can start to be that cut man in the corner, not worrying about the plays, but understanding, all right, let's get a little bit of swelling out there. Here's a little more Vaseline there so they slip up, you know what I mean? And making sure that you're ready to perform.
You know, this is just great. I hope the fans are grasping what you're saying. As you're talking, I remember a coach. I won't name him. Name him. But he had a really talented quarterback that was going to be an NFL prospect, and he was asked. All of a sudden, their downfield passing had really taken steps back year over year. They were not completing passes downfield, and the coach was asked about this in the media, and the coach said, "Well, listen." They were saying, "Hey, do you ever just look at your quarterback and say, hey, man, just let it rip down. Just let him rip. Throw a couple deep shots in the game. Who cares? We just want you to feel that." And then the coach said, "Well, no, I never think that. In fact, I tell our quarterbacks, look, we'd rather you underthrow it than overthrow it, because then you can get a pass interference." And it's like, that makes total sense, right? But what you're taught, that is on the surface level. Of course, if you underthrow it, likelihood of a defensive pass interference, that helps the team. But underneath that is, you're taking a quarterback who you invested in, who's talented, and you're having them hyper fixate on something. Hey, you're talking about how you'd rather have them miss the pass. The other avenue would be, Dev.
Let me stop you there.
What I'm thinking here is...
Let me stop you there. It's almost like telling a shooter, like putting in the head, like when Steph Curry shoots, he never thinks about missing. You telling a quarterback, hey, miss it a little bit. Now, to start, it's the thought, because we're very emotional in our head creatures. I can tell you that for a fact. And now I have the thought of missing. When I'm teaching every quarterback, I have, we don't miss. And even if you do miss, you're just going to fix it on the next one. But at the onset, we do not miss, period. So to put that in a quarterback's head is ass a 9, ass a 10. But go ahead.
But that's it. That's as I was hearing him talk, I'm like, man, I would want my quarterback, because I invested the money in him. He's starting anyways. We need him. I would be like, if I was telling the quarterback, I'd be like, listen, let it rip, man. You're not going to miss it, because
you're not going to miss it.
You're a dog. You're not going to miss it. Let it rip. I don't care what happens. I trust you. Let it rip. And I'm like, man, like what that would do for the confidence of your quarterback is much better than saying, how do you miss it this way or that way? As you're talking, I'm thinking about Steve Kerr with Steph Curry. And Steve Kerr was like, for a lot of guys, some of these shots would be bad shots, but not with Steph. Steph, you let it rip. Let it rip. And what happens? The ball goes in. And all these layers it's like, you have to really have awareness. You have to have awareness that all of what we're talking about here is real. And then 2, you have to have like the intention. You got to really spend time thinking about what does my quarterback respond to? Because maybe some guys, they do like to get their ass chewed. Like Tom Brady, he liked when someone told him he wasn't good enough or he was too old, and he liked to get chewed out a little bit. But the next guy, that might not be the case. And it goes back to what Whit was saying.
I'm telling you, man.
Put value into the quarterback room.
It goes back to value in the quarterback room. And the quarterback room just got a little better. And we're going to talk about it, but George was so good, and we're going to save my assessment, your assessment of what they did to the quarterback room for next week's episode. So you got something to look forward to, because I think it's going to be electric. This episode has been incredible, right? Getting into the mind of one of the gurus of the quarterback position that has coached so many first rounders, so many Heisman. Like, that is not something that you just get every day. But you know what you do get every day? The blueprint. The blueprint. You get exactly what you need to hold you over until the next episode of The Blueprint.
The Blueprint.
And the next episode of this.
And this is the off season.
And this is the off season.
Enjoy the off season too. No time to be bored around
Absolutely.
here.
But next week we're going to dive deep into the snapshot, the cliff notes of both the quarterbacks that they they acquired for that quarterback room. What that means for, even though George gave his take, what that means for Bryce Underwood, what that means for the guys coming in. And I'm excited. I cannot wait to watch this competition unfold. And I think you guys should be too.